Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 828 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm the nerd with the mouth, David.
Alliance, assemble.
Assemble.
Volume, what is it? Volume 267 after a 2 week break for me, 1 week off for you. I feel that, it was only the best for me to really come back when we've got something big to talk about. Why not a movie? And I threw in that whole change in the intro last second right there on the fly, because that's how it is. I may be off for a couple of weeks, but I can still play with the best of them. So happy to be back. I want to say thank you, Travis, for Mr. Hines, for subbing in a couple weeks ago when I was literally coming back from vacation, and but it was good to be back. Happy to be back, and thank you, David, for holding down the fort.
Yeah, no problem. Glad you got some much needed time away, and I'm glad that we could come back in the joys of the first family of Marvel.
Yes, yes. So yeah, we are going to talk about tonight Fantastic Four First Steps, full spoiler review. As always, we will do a non-spoiler thought. So if you haven't gotten a chance to watch the movie and everything like that, we will make sure that you will get some chance to hear at least our high level thoughts first. So, but it's been a couple of weeks. But how have you been?
It's been a busy time in my life, like I said you off air. I'm currently not wearing my shoulder sling right now. I really messed up my shoulder chasing a dog of ours, and it has been a chaotic time with this poor dog. And the other dog is just quiet and sitting in the corner, but this one is not adjusting to its move to Kansas City well. But that's life. Outside of that, work has been crazy busy, but been trying to just make everything balance. How about you?
Yeah, it's last couple of weeks it's been we're getting to the end of summer with staff and students getting ready to come back in a few weeks, and my wife and kids have been in upstate New York visiting her family. So people say, "Oh man, you get to relax, do whatever you want." Saying, well, one hasn't been as relaxing as I've wanted it to be. As I said, work's picking up and everything like that, so it's allowed me to stay up late and do work. But after a couple days, I don't like it being this quiet. I love my wife. I love my kids, and I'm very excited to have them home and get back to some sense of normalcy. Yes, it's, like I said, it's fun for, a couple of days, but, I'm an old sap. What can I say?
Yeah, as a father of two, I definitely understand. You get those moments where you're like, I've got nice and peace and quiet, and then a couple of days later, you're like, man, I miss the rowdiness. I miss the what are we going to eat for lunch? It's all the little things.
Yeah, I've got to make dinner every single night. I usually make dinner every other night. I'm making dinner every night. It's almost like trying, what do I have to figure out? And I'm literally back in my college days, like, what can I make that will take me through a couple of days of dinners and lunches? How lazy can I get? That's how I work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see. We've got Maverick, 77 Defender in the chat. Rise of Silver Surfer is a better. Oh, okay. Well,
Ooh, hot take.
Interesting hot take. Again, it's all subjective, but I respect the opinion. Speaking of that, that's a good time to get in our network plugs. That keys me off right there. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. We've got our dollar tiers or tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive shows. We've got 2 shows in the back catalog for Marvel Alliance. We can watch this all day. The Marvel Alliance MCU Infinity Saga rewatch, where we watched all the movies in chronological order and gave our reviews of each one. And then we had Tales from the House of X, where we looked at our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. And now we are in the throes of the Baxter broadcast, the Fantastic Four retro reviews. We have 2 ones up there right now. The unreleased Fantastic Four movie by Roger Corman in 1994, And then Fantastic Four from 2005 that is already dropped. That is going to drop actually. That is about to drop on Monday for the patrons at this point, and then Tuesday we are going to record your favorite, your movie of choice there, Maverick, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. So we will record that and drop that at the end of August, and then David, and then because because I love you patrons, I will be watching for the very first time Fantastic Four, aka Fan Four Stick from 2015. Gonna be an experience, I will tell you that.
It will definitely be an experience.
So, but we also have the DC Alliance guys doing their DC films through the years. We've got Joe doing his Multiverse Minutes, Disney Deep Dives on the 1st and the 15th, looking at a Disney animated movie in chronological order of release. And so lots of back content. We want to thank the patrons. We cannot do this without your support, but if you want to join our Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/GUA Network. So when all the shows, when you can get that lovely Patreon exclusive content. And last, but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. And literally, these have just been dropped like in the last couple of hours. This is the new pre-order catalog has just dropped for October. We've got some all-new Epic collections from Marvel. We've got all-new Wolverine, Namor, Avengers, Doctor Strange. And we've got some new Omnis, Avengers No Surrender, No Road Home Omnibus, Secret Wars Battle World Volume 3. That collects all the tie-ins from Secret Wars. There's now that encompasses 3 Omnis with the final 4th one soon to be announced. 4 Omnis full of tie-ins. What kind of event does that?
You got your major events, and man, I remember reading Secret Wars when it came out and all the tie-ins, and my local comic book shop had a whole checklist that you would just go in and check off, make sure that you had every part of it.
Yep, and you got the Amazing Spider-Man by Zeb Wells, Omnibus Volume 1. Yeah, I've got nothing positive to say about that, so moving on. And X-Men Road to Onslaught Omnibus. Also, I have not much positive things to say on that. But you know what? At least with the Onslaught, I'm collecting it because I've already got the first one, and that was right when the era when I started getting out of X-Men. But you know what? It's nostalgia for me. But if you're like me and like to get nostalgia bait and you like collected editions, use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order, or use the code MGUASIT for 5% off when you order 4 or more books together. It lets them know you're a listener, and as always, we want to thank them, OPB, for being our official sponsor. All right, so let's see. We've got That Guy B, hey, and saw 4 first steps and really enjoyed it. Well, good. I'm glad. We got differences of opinion in the chat. We got Maverick saying Rise of the Silver Surfer better. Glad That Guy B likes it at that point. So let's get into it, David. Before that. This is the only time we've gotten to plug it because tomorrow night, well, actually, if you're watching tomorrow night, if you are listening to this today, on Saturday night, this Saturday, we will have the Geekverse Geek Ultimate Alliance crossover celebrating their 10th anniversary and our 5th anniversary. So the Geekverse gang will be joining members of the GUA network to reminisce, talk about catch up what's going on. It's been a very long time since we've had one of those, but we're both celebrating big milestones for us, and it'll be a good time. So that'll take place 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Geekverse Podcast YouTube channel. So I will definitely be there for part of it. I don't know if I'll be staying for all of it just because, like I said, wife and kids are coming home. So gotta.
Yeah. Same here. I will be popping in for parts of it. I've had a busy weekend with kids having so many things going on, but I would definitely be a part as one of the latest to join both sides of it, Geekverse and the GUA sides of it.
You're a rare one. Yeah, you're the only one that can really say that. I will say this, and I'll say it then. It changed my life. And for 5 years ago, couldn't have ever predicted something like that. But stories to reminisce with tomorrow night at that point. But yeah, this being a part of this network has legitimately changed my life for the better. So, but anyways, so before we start getting sad and sappy about it, let us now get into our non-spoiler thoughts of Fantastic Four First Steps. David, I will let you start that off because you are appropriately dressed with that snazzy, as I commented off air, that very snazzy hoodie, and I applaud you for wearing a hoodie. How high is your AC going right now in order for you to continue to wear this?
Right now I'm fine in the office. Luckily, it's raining outside, so it is significantly cooled down. I think my AC right now is set to 72, just so I don't sweat too much. I'll turn it back up in a little bit, but yeah, it's a very nice hoodie that I was found at FYE and hidden on a rack, and I was like, yeah, I have to have this. But overall thoughts of Fantastic Four, man, it was an incredible movie. And right now, upon initial watching and having only had 48 hours to really digest all the times that I've seen this aspects of it, I would definitely put it in my top 15.
Okay.
I can't guarantee top 10. It's sitting right there in my mind, but some of that could just be recency biased. I love the fact that Sue Storm got incredible shine, not just with her power set, but also being that voice of diplomacy in all the parts that you see of her in the comics. I thought everyone's character was done very well. Ben got his moments to shine. You got to see him with the community. Johnny got his moments. He actually had a stellar moment where he had to show he's not just the hot-headed, for lack of better words, fun-loving womanizer. He had some smarts about him, and so yeah, this was a good movie.
Yeah, I've made no illusions on this show. Mr. Snell and I share this opinion about the Fantastic Four. They've never been my go-to team. Very clearly, I'm an X-Men guy. Like that's my team. That's who I've always connected more with than anything else in Marvel team-wise, even more than the Avengers. There's just a lot of personal stuff kind of tied with that, but didn't make it, just wasn't for me. I've kept up with the Fantastic Four in different events, different series. If you ever need recommendations on what to do, I know where to send you. I only own literally one collected edition for Fantastic Four, and that was Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross, just because I'm an Alex Ross fan and I love his artwork and I love everything about that book. So it's never been a connection with me. I've enjoyed, these retros have got me a chance to kind of look back and see what I did enjoy of the Fantastic Four, but they've never been my team. So when they said the Fantastic Four is coming out, yeah, they should. The MCU needs to bring back the Fantastic Four, as part of the Fox deal. We were just like, man, if Marvel Studios can't get a Fantastic Four movie right, then it's a doomed it's just a doomed kind of, no
Yeah.
pun intended, project at that point. And so going into this, I had no expectations outside of, I expect with Marvel Studios to get a good quality product. That's my only expectation. I go into it saying, don't prove to me you're good, prove to me you're bad. But I know with Marvel, I just put it on a different pedestal that I don't have too high of expectations, but I just think you have the pedigree. Show me what you've been able to do with this. And yeah, it was good. I wish it was longer. I'm getting really tired of where I feel, particularly a lot in this movie at different points. I feel this could have been, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if pushing the 2 hours 30 minutes, but definitely 15 to 20 more minutes in different parts of this movie could have fleshed out a couple of more things, and that didn't move it down at all. It's just I'm really tired of this at this point, and but the movie as a whole, every single character, of the Fantastic Four really did an outstanding job with this. To your point, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, really just like you said, they had told us, we had gotten a lot of hints in there that she was going to be looking at as the leader of this team, and yeah, I mean she's the glue that holds this team together. Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic. I was a little apprehensive, not necessarily saying him being cast. I was like, what kind of Reed are we going to be? He proved Reed Richards through and through, the good and the scary side of Reed, and gave some real depth to that character, instead of what we usually have just gotten as the nerd, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
There's the scene that we'll talk about later where he does a great duality of that wholesome read versus I'm so smart it's actually dangerous of the steps that I will go through.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this was, the characters of, Thing played by Evan Moss Baccarat, and then Joseph Quinn as the Human Torch. I didn't get a thing that was sad and mopey the entire film. Woe was me. I got hints of it. I got times where he talked about it. It was never ignored, but it didn't define the character. Remember, this is not necessarily an origin story, so I can't. How many years by the time we take place? Was it a couple years after the
Yeah.
accident? Okay, so he's had time to process. So we don't know necessarily did he go through, this monster storyline, at that point. But you do see the hints of him, but he's accepted what he is at that point and is going to do it. This Johnny Storm, yeah, they have the dynamic between the both of them of kind of being, the brothers from another mother where they pick on each other. But what was been portrayed so often in the movies has been they're just at each other's throats, and it's more mean Johnny to Ben.
Yeah.
And you get more playful with this, and it's not. And Johnny even is looked at as he has intelligence about him. I wouldn't put him out like he has these moments where he's figuring out something really key in the movie, and it puts Johnny in a different light. So those two were very interesting characterizations. I didn't necessarily see. I had the impression that I didn't think they were going to go too far with Johnny being a jerk, but I was very surprised at it. All in all, I thought this was a good movie where Marvel didn't take really many risks with it, and I'm okay with that. But the portrayal of this retro 60s look was beautiful. Michael Giacchino score was outstanding. I thought and then we get to Galactus. Oh my goodness. Yes, we definitely know where they poured the CG money in, and I totally agree. There is some rough CG with that baby. There is no questions about that. Something about superhero movies and babies. I don't know.
Yeah. I get it. They're hard actors to work with, but man, that there were some moments where you could see that.
Yep.
All right, this is where our budget is going towards.
But where this movie got it and what people have failed to do, and that's why we always have. I'm one of the people that says like the best Fantastic Four movie we got was The Incredibles, because that movie understood what this movie also understands: family. Hashtag family. Yes, hashtag family. But no Dom at this point. Family and fun. This movie is fun. It is on family. And yes, the Fantastic Four is not a household name. I hate people saying, oh, is it going to be Superman? You can't compare this to Superman. There is no comparison to these movies. It's not one against the other. It's just different. But this movie is fun. It's got the heart, and that's where you can compare the Superman. Superman has heart. This movie has heart. There is. I'm not going to pit these two movies against each other but that's what I was going to do. Is it going to be fun? Is it going to get the idea of what this family is about? And they did. They really did. So
Yeah.
But do you have any other non-spoiler thoughts before we jump over that wall before the ad break?
Just again, I thought that everything was well done with all of the characters. I definitely agree with you on the runtime. I think it was at an hour 55. I remember walking out of there thinking that they could have gone up to 220 easily, and it would not have made the movie feel long, and it would have been just right to get couple more beats in there. And so I don't know why sometimes they're stuck on this getting right under the 2 hour limit. Let the story speak.
They want the most screens.
If the story benefits from it, then let the story benefit from it, because you will get more people going back to see a great movie than you will trying to fit it in.
And that guy B agrees. Loved them both for different reasons. And again, it's okay to like them all. It's okay to like one over the other. You're still a fan. Guess what? We're eating good right now. So, All right. So if you have not seen Fantastic Four First Steps and don't want to be spoiled, stop, go see it, then come back to the show, however you're watching it or listening to it, and we'll be right here waiting for you. So we're going to take our first ad break as we jump over the spoiler wall. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud, so give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. So, again, it's not an origin movie, but they recap it in a way that we expected based on the trailers. You get this, I think it's the Ted Gilbert show. Is that what they're calling it?
Yes.
So,
A
get,
nod to Ed Sullivan,
yeah.
the old Gilbert and Sullivan thing. So yeah, they start off with the old show, and they get the Beatles treatment coming out the gate.
Yeah,
You can definitely tell that they are the stars of this world.
Yep, you get the stylized TV montage, recaps the Fantastic Four's origin, the powers, the filming that's done with it, how much when they come back, the cosmic rays and everything like that, like they're welcomed as kind of heroes, and there is actually a preview comic. I actually read it, that Marvel put out as a prelude to it. Not bad, actually. It was actually a pretty good prelude comic, kind of detailing that. So definitely recommend it. It gives actually some more. It gives the story that we really didn't fully see fleshed out with the Mole Man. That whole fight. So that was kind of interesting. But anyways, and where you see actually some of the talk shows after they come down, and I love seeing Reed saying that it was his mistake. He feels responsible for what had happened, and as we see later, him and Ben just have this kind of heart to heart. It's like I get it, but it's what happened, But it's interesting seeing him start off saying responsibility, but you don't see Reed saying I'm gonna spend the rest of my life doing it, which I liked. I appreciated that.
Yeah, you could tell he feels, a certain piece of ownership for everything that's happened. He says that, hey, he could have known if he had taken some more time, but this isn't the thing that's constantly eating after him. It's not the constantly we can fix you, Ben, and it's not the constant Ben wanting to be fixed. So I think that was good to acknowledge that, but not have that as a focal point between the two.
Yep, and we get some of the cuts of some of their, showcasing all their powers, but also we get kind of the hints of some of the right fights that they've had. One of them being the Mole Man, that is wonderfully played by Paul Walter Hauser. Does a great job. I think it's a perfect casting. The times that he comes up in the movie, he definitely enjoys chewing on the scenery. We unfortunately did find out that John Malkovich scenes were cut from the movie. He played the Red Ghost. He is mentioned in there, and all we see are his apes at that point. So. It was interesting. I was like, oh wow, we're just acknowledging, but we're not even give him screen time. We'll give the screen time to the apes. So
yeah, you get a mention of the Red Ghost, but then it cuts right to Reed kicking an orangutan out of a skyscraper into the ocean next door. So it's just one of those things. It would have been nice to get that. From what I've read and from what I've heard in various interviews, it was an 11th hour cut last minute. So.
Yeah, it was interesting, but like you got to see kind of how they've gone through kind of a couple of years at this point, and we've established that as I said at the open show, this is Earth 828. They are the only known superpowered heroes in this universe at this point. So we got no other kind of heroes at that point, and so it was interesting kind of seeing that kind of montage play off. And before they even go on stage, they get alerted, and they're into the whole the whole fight that goes on. But I did like how the Sue is the one who is instrumental in creating the Future Foundation. Basically, the Fantastic Four led to world peace.
Yeah, they
is
demilitarized the
that
entire world.
It's like I was kind of like, wow, okay.
When you got it, you got it. And apparently, Sue has the power to make every nation give up the nuclear arms race and come together. And then it's shown later in the movie where there's a point where they have to have the world come together. And Sue is once again speaking out to people. And it's just like, oh, when Sue talks, they listen.
Yeah. It was really one of those moments where I was kind of like, it has no doubts that like I'm questioning Sue. I was just more surprised, like, oh, this is a world that really doesn't have any problems but like supervillains.
Yeah.
you know, that was kind of interesting. But that's how the Future Foundation kind of got started. Is this idea of like spreading world peace. Um, and then we get some, after we cut back into the Baxter building, we get some revelations with Sue. What does she talk to Reed about that she's discovered?
So, and it's funny how this leads up because Reed is looking for some iodine for a wound that he has on his shoulder, and she says, "I know exactly where it's at. I'll be able to tell you in 12 seconds." And he goes, "That's an oddly specific amount of time." Well, that's an oddly specific amount of time because that's how much time she had left on her 1 minute pregnancy test. So,
And,
yes. And for Reed in that moment, smartest man in the world, you're both excited, but then he starts freaking out. They were trying for years. They gave up on trying 2 years ago, according to him. And so, and this is kind of odd because if you think about it, they've been active for 4 years since this incident happened. They gave up trying 2 years ago. So even after they became the Fantastic Four, they were still trying, eventually gave up, and now here we are.
yeah, I mean, it was an interesting kind of thing to bring about in the sense of like adding that to their thing. My like I said, my children are adopted at that point, and it was kind of like, oh, that was a nice touch. That even though they're this superhero family, they also have issues like that and trouble with conceiving. But and like you said, as I said, they gave up just thinking that, oh, maybe it's because the cosmic rays are not allowing us to get pregnant, and moving on with that. So that was interesting. Also, 828, for those that don't know, August 28th is Jack Kirby's birthday, so that's why the designation is what it is, and he's one of the co-creators of the Fantastic Four. So we'll talk about also. There's a couple of little winks and nods to the creators of the Fantastic Four in this movie. But yeah, so she's pregnant. They're happy, and then we get the family dinner sequence where, Thing, Ben, and Johnny kind of get some little ribs going on. And let me tell you what, Herbie the robot, what a cute little addition. I mean, the moments that he was there, it was, I wouldn't say he was. I mean, he didn't take away from the scenery. It was just enough of Herbie.
Yeah, he had his moments. I think he was used correctly, especially in the scene when they go to negotiate with Galactus and some other parts. Like they didn't overuse him. There wasn't the big, again, taking it back to the old cartoon, using him for the comedic effect and things like that. He held his place. I did think that there were some funny moments with him though, like the fact that whenever Johnny would talk to him, he would scratch his head like he was a dog and other little tidbits like that.
Yeah. So they had some gentle ribbing back and forth. I like the tip of the hat to the bear, being like he wants to give a little like a little cooking in there. But they all figure out. We saw this in the trailers that Ben's able to figure out very quickly, just based on how much Sue is beaming, that she's pregnant. And but it's interesting, they're all happy for it. And what do you think about like Ben being on the street? The clobbering time. That's not it. It's from the show, but he has this kind of moment where he's trying to be endearing to the children. We get this teacher that's come out played by Natasha Lyonne, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And she is not Alicia Masters. She is not Alicia Masters.
Yeah, no, they definitely they went a different route. And instead of going with the Alicia Masters route, going with the blind route, they have Natasha Lyonne as Rachel Rosman. She appears to be working at a Jewish school for kids and things like that. And so he has the moment with the kids. I did like, you could tell, like, Thing in this moment, he wants to keep grounded to his roots. He's walking around with his Brooklyn Dodgers cap on. He's enjoying walking up and down Yancey Street. And even though, yes, you could tell he gets slightly annoyed with the say the thing part, he's like, that's just in the cartoon. I don't actually say it. But then when the kids want something from him, he knows how to flip that switch,
Yeah.
turn it on, and be loving and enduring and caring because he cares about his neighborhood. He cares about keeping himself grounded, just like the thing that we're accustomed to in the comic books. He's always going back. He goes back to the bars, he goes back to the community, and we got to see that side of him here.
And we also get some interesting bonding moments with between Reed and Johnny with this experimentation with teleportation they're working on with an egg. And I was like, oh, this is foreshadowing to something. We're going to use this for something later in the movie. But during this time, he's seeing and hearing out there in space these cries out that entire planets are mysteriously vanishing. And they're recording these sounds, and Johnny is trying to investigate what exactly A is being said, and Reed's trying to figure out where are these planets going
Yeah.
at that point. But there's no answer for it.
And this was a good setup for this different Johnny than we are used to. So instead of just the playboy, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to make fun of Reed, I'm going to call you a nerd, and then I'm going to run off to gallivant around the city, he's interested in the things that are happening. He's helping out with the experiment. He's
Yep.
taking the recording of the voice from space and going and taking it on his own and doing more with it. So he is definitely showing that, yes, I'm a fun guy. I like to joke. I like to have fun. But he is also an integral part of this team.
Yeah. And so, there's no answers. They're still trying to investigate. But then we get to flashing 7 months later. Sue's pregnancy is obviously advanced. And there's a little moment where Reed's trying to conduct some ultrasound to see if the baby has powers. And was it Sue uses her powers to kind of like they get to see inside of her, which is one of those, well, why not?
Yeah. It's like it's an interesting use of her power set in that way to just be like, oh, hey, here's a thing. And I'm guessing that probably came from a bunch of people sitting around the table like, I wonder if she could only turn parts of herself invisible and if it could be used in kind of an X-ray type deal. And there we go.
The way you said that right then, all I could think of with Mallrats saying with Banky and like the Thing and Mr. Fantastic and things like that. So if you've never seen, I'm not going down that route, but you know.
Interesting discussions in the comic book shop.
Yes, exactly. So they're all very happy, and Reed they go out. It was interesting because you got a lot of Easter eggs getting dropped when they go out there and they see the cops going out, and he's found, I guess, this kind of algorithm that's helping the cops stop these like super villains, like the Puppet Master, and they name dropped one or two others. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're not trying to be everything to everyone. They're using their gifts and other things to help out and not just be taking over and making like you don't need the cops or anything, or they're just the cleanup crew,
Yeah. Let's see. It was Puppet Master, the Wizard,
Yes.
Diablo, and he speaks on the Mole Man, who we've already touched on a couple of times already. And so it's basically like, yeah, I set these up. They can take it from here. I'm just keeping an eye on things. So,
Yeah.
it's one of those, we're here to help, but we're not the omnipresent factor. We're still living our lives. Like, I still want to devote time to my family. So I've got this off to the side. The cops can handle these little skirmishes. They're not too bad right now. And I'm going to go ahead and focus on my family right now.
And especially going back to Mole Man, I did like how, despite what he did to the Pan Am building, like Sue was the one leading, saying like, we need to kind of work with this kind of society underneath us. We don't want to do that. And so instead of throwing him in jail, they found a way to kind of coexist too.
Yeah. Established a peace treaty so that everyone can live in harmony.
Yep, in Subterranea. But that guy B said I love much more of a complex character, Johnny, than just the playboy like the earlier movies. Yes, and he still kind of has that playboy nature, but I agree with you. It gave more depth to that character than before. But as they're standing outside, the sky turns to fire, and a figure comes down, and it is the Silver Surfer, played by Julia Gardner, who plays this Silver Surfer Shalabal, with a warning: I herald your end. I herald his arrival. I am the herald of Galactus. So the Galactus is coming. So it's very much a pulled right from the Galactus trilogy by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. And I think it was at that moment we saw two figures
Yep.
doing a
Timely
cartoon
Comics.
at Timely Comics. That if you catch that wondering what that was, yes, that was a call out to Jack Kirby and Stan Lee creating the Fantastic Four at Timely Comics. So yes.
Yeah, that was an awesome little Easter egg. And I forgot to mention earlier, we got a little Easter egg during the Gilbert show where everyone's thinking the Fantastic Four. There's a cameo of the 1994 Fantastic
Yes.
Four cast in that.
Yep, they call, and good for, we talked about it on our Patreon, plug for our Patreon, check it out. But we had talked about before, and this was you and I only found out about this when they showed up on the blue carpet, and that's when it was announced that they had a cameo in this movie. And you know what? Good on Kevin Feige, good on Marvel Studios for giving them the in this case, excuse me, the blue carpet premiere they never got. And they
Yeah.
never had anything to do with anything but trying to put out the movie that they were. So they get some sort of movement in this movie. Now that really I enjoyed seeing, because I was looking out saying, okay, where is it going to be? Is it going to be obvious? And I liked it how they put it in this sequence.
Yeah, and there are so many. So we have that. We have this moment right here with a young Lee and Kirby, and there's just so many nods and respects to where these characters have come from, and I do like the fact that they interjected those throughout there.
But yes, Silver Surfer, she looked great. The CG on Julia Gardner was very, very good. I was not I had no qualms about it in the trailers, but this one, seeing it on the big screen, very good. You know, echoes exactly, even though in the comics it was Norn Rad. It was fine. Like, it delivered the message, had the ambiance of it, and the warning has come. Galactus is coming. And this is no fart cloud, people.
We get the true Galactus. Her entire intro, like the aura that she brought with this character. And again, I know a lot of people were thrown off by the fact that they switched up the versions of the Silver Surfer. It was all right. Well, how are you going to portray this, man? That aura that she brought coming into this, like Julia Garner, just everything about her cadence, the way she spoke, it felt like, okay, you are the bringer of something big.
Yep, they're saying your doom is inevitable. And so, yeah, so that's kind of where I call the break of this is the end of Act 1. We've kind of established what's going on and things like that. Everything seems hunky-dory. And then this message is dropped, and so now we're off to the races. So, but all right, so we're going to take our next ad break before we get into Act 2. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. Give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, so, we've decided to track the Silver Surfer and where she's going, and tracks that energy, and so they basically are jumping on another spaceship to go track it down and see exactly where the Silver Surfer went, but also maybe this Galactus is who's responsible for these planets disappearing. And man, bravo, Marvel. Bravo. Galactus is exactly everything that I hoped it to be. I mean, again, we got the proof in concept with the Celestials, but I don't have a connection to the Celestials. I mean, just being completely honest with you. It looks awe-inspiring on the screen, but when I think huge celestial being, I don't think the Celestials. I think Galactus at that point. And brought to life, the voice of Ralph Ineson, just yes. I mean, there's just people who are just like that godlike, like fear voice at that point. Yeah, he did an amazing job giving Galactus that fear at that point. But just it's like the juxtaposition of the Fantastic Four looking up at him at that point, and him just the command of like, wow,
Yeah, they have that moment. Silver Surfer basically tells him, like, you should not have come here, but he will see you now. He leads them to there. I did like the moment between Johnny and Silver Surfer on their way to see Galactus when he's like, "Hey, what did you say earlier? Like you spoke in your native tongue. What did you say earlier?" And she
Yeah.
was like, "Go die with your people." And it was like that whole moment leading up to it. And then once they're in the presence, and she says, you should be honored to be in the presence of Galactus. And it pans out, and you see his eyes light up in the shadows as he starts to move, and everything about his presence just feels like, okay, this is someone to be feared. This isn't a gas cloud. This isn't some mystery that's never seen. No, we get to see all of him in his menacing force. And yeah, this was very, very well done.
Yeah, and I knew, the week of the movie, things were coming out of like the scenes of Galactus. Never saw it, didn't want to see it. I avoided everything because I wanted to have that moment on the big screen to see something I've always wanted to see and see if they could do it right. And like I said, I was very, very happy with what it was at that point. But Galactus isn't, he says like, fine, if you want to spare your planet, I will spare your planet for your child, because he senses something within their unborn child that scares him, but also something that can help him cure, quote unquote, his hunger.
Yeah. He mentions that the baby has the quote unquote the power cosmic, which in the comic books, that's not Franklin's power set, but it was used for this movie. And I think that it works within this. But he says, hey, he has the power cosmic. This baby will be my release so that I can get some rest from this internal hunger. And that's all he wants. He knows exactly what it is. And to me, like, it's one of those you could see from that devil's advocate perspective, like, okay, this baby has all the power to you've been doing this for millions of years and you are tired and want to be done. He has to feed in order to survive. He wants to be done with it. Yeah, I could definitely see why he'd be like, yeah, that's the only thing I want.
Yeah, so Galactus tries to take, not dealing with it. They're saying no. They try to get the heck out of Dodge, and Silver Surfer gives chase, and almost at one point, kind of, almost basically, goes into Sue's belly and tries to get up, but they're able to kind of escape, and they have this whole kind of as this basically chase sequence going on to find a way to trap the Silver Surfer in a black hole that they create, an event horizon to trap the Surfer. And it actually does work. It was, I mean, to be honest, we all knew they were going to escape, but it was just cool kind of seeing exactly how they were going to go down with that.
Yeah, they had basically a dogfight within a wormhole as Sue is going into early labor based upon everything that's happened. And it was a cool scene. We get Johnny manning the guns on the ship. Ben Grimm, he's flying it. Herbie's in here helping out, and Reed is torn between, okay, I'm trying to settle my wife because she's going into early pregnancy, but I'm thinking about all the calculations. What do we need to do next? What approach do we need to make to get away from them? We can get to this wormhole. He's thinking and he's giving the commands while also trying to be there and present for his wife, who you could tell she's freaking out because this is her baby, and why does this man want her baby, and what's going on, and everything else. And this is not where they want to be, in the middle of a space adventure and her giving birth.
Yep. But thankfully, they're able to get the Silver Surfers trapped in the black hole, and Franklin is born above the Earth. So when they do land, they ask for the Fantastic Four to make a statement, and unfortunately, Reed Richards gives them the statement that he's honest at that point. He said, "We were able to defeat Galactus," and he's like, "Nope." And
not yet.
not yet. And we failed, and it starts. The public is angry because when does the Fantastic Four ever lose? And so they're like, "What do we do? This creature is now going to come down and destroy us all." There's protests at the Baxter Building. There's now a Galactus cult forming, and Reed is trying to figure out how to defeat Galactus, since they never really had they never really tried to kind of take him on. They just escaped. But Reed unfortunately comes up with an idea and suggests that maybe we should give up Franklin and or use him as bait at that point. And yeah, Reed, this is the Reed Richards of the side of he's a scientist. He's trying to find a way out of this and literally defining what Spock would always say in Star Trek: the needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few. And said, yeah, I'll give up my son or use him as bait for that. And yeah, Sue's really ticked about this. And obviously, it was a pure moment that I think Pedro Pascal did a really good job of showing that side of Reed Richards that a lot of people hate.
Yeah,
But that's
and
him.
that's what I was saying earlier. This is that moment where he goes from the family man. He's going through everything like, I don't want to give up my son, and he's going through everything in his head, and then he stops. And Sue's like, you already figured it out. And he was like, well, no, I'm going to figure out a way. She goes, this is what you're planning on doing. And then he switches and he goes, it's the only way. This is what we have to do. So he goes from, I can figure it out, I'm so smart, to I already have it figured out. None of you are going to like what I have figured out, but it's the only way. It's that I'm so smart. Here's what we have to do.
Yeah. And, she's furious, and actually she goes out there into the crowd with Franklin and delivers a very heartfelt speech about staying united as a family, And even Reed has a moment with Franklin, that's saying he doesn't want to have to do this and figure out a way. And so they actually develop another way using the whole teleportation network to okay, this is where I was like, all right. So we're going to build a teleportation network across the world. When activated, if the Silver Surfer and Galactus show up, we're going to move Earth to safety. And
Yeah.
Everyone rallies because why not? And I'm like, where? Because they never talk about that. They never talk about like where are they going to move it, and is it gonna? Have they charted this effectively? Like we've only tried this with eggs.
Yeah. And from everything that I remember from high school, our gravitational pull, the fact that we have sustainable life, everything is done based upon where we are at in the solar system. So you're just displacing the planet, and as they put it, just far enough that it will take Galactus eons to find it again. You're displacing it, but you're not displacing the sun with it. They're not displacing the moon. The ocean currents are going to wipe out. The Earth's magnetic poles are going to go crazy. Like the actual science of it does not make sense. But you know what? Go ahead, Reed. You got this.
So part of me thinks when the Silver Surfer does arrive and destroys the teleporters as they're being activated, he's like, "Oh, thank God, thank God! I didn't want to have to be responsible. I'm the one destroying humanity." He was like, wow. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that the world has trust with the Fantastic Four at that point, but that's a lot of trust. For something that he never tested outside of eggs.
Yeah. You've displaced something from one part of the room to another. You're not affecting its gravity. You're not affecting anything else, but you're now going to go, all right, I moved these 6 feet. I'm now going to move the entire world.
Jim Scroggs says, I really enjoyed, but I noticed something interesting. Says, I love seeing a story about a group of people with different backgrounds who's trying to save the world by using a baby to trap an all-powerful deity who wants to secure his place in history. Oh, that's Ghostbusters too. Good job, Jim. Very good. Very, very, very.
Bravo, sir.
Bravo. But so it also has this moment where Johnny has this moment, with figuring out as the Silver Surfers destroying the teleporters out, they're really left with no other choice of what to do. And remember, as you said, the Surfer told Johnny something in her language that he's been translating audio from dying planets. And after the teleporter sabotage, he has this moment with the Silver Surfer where he's playing the audio of the destroyed planets and making her confront what she's been a part of. And this is where also she reveals to Johnny what how she basically became the Surfer, in the sense of, in order to save her planet and her child, she gave herself to the Galactus to be his herald. And it's just like she really understands the weight of it when Johnny confronts her with it, and she's just like, I'm sorry, and she takes off.
Yeah. I like this scene for two reasons. Number one, the way that he approached this. He started off by replaying her message, then he made her listen to all the other messages he had. He's like, this is the messages of you destroying other planets. This is what you have done in his name. And then when she gives his backstory, it goes to a little seed that had constantly been planted throughout this movie where he's asking, is she and the board one being, or are they separate? And so he
Yeah.
finally gets that confirmation, which then comes back again later when he's talking to somebody else. He's like, and for the record, I now know for sure they are two different things.
Yeah, because I mean, it's been kind of back and forth in the comics, but I think the one true thing that they've always kind of gone back to is the board and the Surfer are kind of one. So
Yeah. So she steps onto the board in her
yeah.
flashback. You see her get engulfed in the silver and change, and it's truly when you look at it, it's a heart-wrenching backstory. Like, she gave up her life and her freedom, and she committed herself to costing others their lives in order to save her planet and her daughter.
Yeah, and that's what's always interesting about the Silver Surfer. It's more than a one-note character of the Herald Galactus, and this, especially when the Surfer leaves the employ of the Herald of Galactus. Galactus has many heralds because the Silver Surfer doesn't remain at that point, rebels out like Shalabal has done. One of my favorite runs, absolutely, the Silver Surfer. Dan Slott, Mike Allred, Laura Allred's run on Silver Surfer. If you want just a really great character study of the Silver Surfer falling in love and just understanding the complexity of what Norman Rad is, read that arc, read that storyline. It is great. Dan Slott, Mike Allred, Laura Allred, just outstanding work with the Silver Surfer. But anyways, but when she leaves one teleporter left, and of course right in Times Square. So now they have to come up with a new plan. And unfortunately, they have to go with the one that Reed came up with earlier. And it was, it's the only way, is they have to use Franklin, baby Franklin, to lure Galactus there, because he's coming. And the one thing he wants, besides eating Earth, is Franklin Richards. And I love this this baby carrier thing that's supposed to kind of be his protecting little Grogu like kind of carrying thing, but always decked out in the right colors though.
Yeah, it's so interesting that they had push button to bring down this capsule that's supposed to protect him. So either Reed definitely had some forethought, or like they just went over the top.
And this is the point, is like, he's not trying to give his baby to Galactus at this point. They're literally using it as bait to hopefully take this teleporter and turn it on, create a mini black hole, which begs into whole other questions of how the planet's just going to be fine with creating this mini black hole. But, it's comic science, people. And again, it's a big risk, and they know it's a big risk. But Sue also realizes at that point, that they don't have any other choice. But the goal is, they're not going to give up Franklin to, that's not the end goal. The end goal is to save Franklin. The end goal is to just get rid of Galactus, but they have to accept the fact that Galactus is on his way. And man, it's one of those things that they do the thing now that it's just the way it is right now. Call it what it is, but we've got to get everyone out of the city in order to do ultimate destruction at this point, because you can't just have this happen. And I really hope this is not necessarily a trope. I mean, it's convenient for what they do, and I love it when they bring in Mole Man to, Sue and Reed talk to Mole Man. Well, actually, Sue talks to Mole Man, and then Reed does. Saying what they need to bring the whole city down into Subterranea in order to save the population, and he begrudgingly does it. And it was just one of those things All right, I accept it, but it's we can't keep going down this route because that's not what reality is going to be like, where we can get everyone out of the city when a global threat is there.
Yeah, and the way that New York is built, even in this fictionalized world with all the skyscrapers, all the buildings, you mean to tell me you are able to evacuate all of New York down to subterranean?
In
Because
hours.
the point is they don't know which direction Galactus is going to come from, so they have to evacuate all directions. It's not like okay, he's going to come in from the eastern seaboard and then he's going to come across and he's going to come down Fifth Avenue and make his way here. So this is where we need to clear. They had no idea where he was going to land and where he was going to come from. So you had to clear the entire city. You mean to tell me you fit all of New York down there with the already existing mole people in their infrastructure? Like, that's got to be packed.
Yeah, so I mean, I get it. They had the time; they didn't want to have to deal with it, and people saying, "Oh, a lot of people died," things like that. But it is what it is. But seeing Galactus kind of first, and this is where they get like sciencey in the sense of where he goes into the water and creates basically, floods, downtown New York for a little bit because he's, a huge body of thing going into the water. Well, you're gonna send kind of a mini little tidal wave. Like that moment where you see the Statue of Liberty with Galactus, but seeing him walk through, scan, looking for the baby, and they kind of play a switcheroo. They get him close enough, and Johnny kind of takes the baby while, Galactus isn't totally paying attention, puts him in the Baxter building, switches it off. But Galactus has to cross that red line. In it. Oh, yeah. Going back, the thing. Beard, you know?
Yeah. So in order to use these, going back, in order to use all of these teleportation things, everyone had to conserve power.
Yeah.
So the entire world was put on an 8 p.m. curfew for power so that they could conserve for this. So he couldn't shave. And he had a sander that he was using for his shaver.
Yeah.
So now you've got Ben Grimm with the beard and everything else. Again, Sue convinced the entire world to shut
Yep.
down power at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is 7 to 8 hours. That's middle of the morning. People are getting up for their coffee over in Germany. Nope, can't use power at this point. So everyone's conserving power. And so, yeah, when we get to this point, they've got their little triangle set up that he has to step in. They're playing a game of move the football. Johnny blinds Galactus long enough for them to move Franklin out the way, but again, Galactus is not a your run of the mill stupid villain. He starts and he's about to step in that zone and stops and goes, something's off here. Rescans and realizes that baby ain't there.
Yep. And they in the Baxter building with being watched by Herbie, and he goes in and grabs the baby. Now they do try to stop him at different points. He almost stretches Reed to a point where he's going to be ripped in half, which was kind of interesting seeing. I didn't think it was bad at that point. They're all trying to stop Galactus, and it's they're all trying to do something. They're all trying to stop him at that point, to the point where that it comes down to Sue, and Sue just pushes herself to the limit. Now, when it comes down to it, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It is comic accurate that Sue Storm is the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four. If pushed to her limits at that point, she can literally use her powers to create a brain aneurysm in your head and go pop. She has been known to, have those abilities and can do that, and she literally pushes herself to the limit and is trying to push Galactus into the zone to activate, so that Reed can activate the lever to open up the black hole and get him through there. Now, I remember, and our brethren at Geekverse pointed this out, that in the trailers you did see Sue doing that moment, her bleeding from the nose. They cut that. They cut the blood, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
It was like, that's kind of a weird cut to have to show. I mean, was it necessary? No, but it just shows how much she's pushing herself, though. You know?
Yeah, I thought the same thing when I saw that. I was like, I could have sworn there was blood in this scene. I don't know if it just didn't test well or whatnot, but yeah, they definitely cut that because I think that would have given general audiences more of an understanding of why she passed out and what's to come with her after.
Yeah. So they're able to push him into within the triangle. Reed activates but it's Sue's needs a little bit of help with it, and realizes, Johnny sees it and realizes that, saying, you know what, tell Franklin I love him, says something to that effect, and he gets ready to sacrifice himself. Now Johnny has sacrificed himself in a particular run. I'm not going to reveal where it is, just because I don't want to spoil something, but Johnny has sacrificed himself in order to save the team. That has been happened. But who comes flying down? You expect it, if it was a Han Solo moment, there's Silver Surfer says, nope, I'm going to do it. And she pushes Galactus. I like to say, I don't think she sacrificed himself. I think she just was able to push him through at that point, and they're both basically into this black hole. Neither one of them are dead. I'm sorry, but they're not dead. They're not.
Yeah, no. There's no way that they're dead.
Yeah, so they go in, black hole's shut down, and we see basically Sue is lying lifeless on the ground, and Reed's trying to, do CPR on her, get her through. Nothing's working. And this is where we get some more bad baby CGI when they get the baby down on there. It's like, ooh, this is getting rough with it at that point. But this is where we see Franklin activate his powers and, bring his mother back to life. Now, the powers of Franklin Richards are quite immense. In the comic books, not currently, until recently, he was designated in when Sue wakes up, like, he's more than what we are. Franklin Richards in the comics is a mutant. He has been designated also an Omega level mutant, like your highest form of it. And right now he is powerless for whatever reason, because people want to, I don't know, be silly about these powers. But Franklin possesses, one of his main powers is to warp reality, to make any thought and desire come to fruition through and tip the cosmic scale. He's able to rearrange molecular structures of matter and energy at will. He has vast psionic powers and that have manifested telepathy, telekinesis, energy blast, concussive force, precognition, and astral projection. He's even at one point subconsciously created his own pocket universe. Like, when I say, like, he is, like, godlike at that point, yes. Franklin Richards, teleportation, immortality, like, he's everything. So when I knew when they were putting it down, I just knew it was like, all right, she's coming back, which I'm fine with. I'm totally fine with it. I didn't want necessarily, I didn't think that they were going to do that. Plus, we've seen Vanessa Kirby being named for, coming back for Doomsday. But I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I didn't do a boo hiss, because I knew as soon as they put Franklin on and the eyes turned blue, that was,
yeah.
it wasn't bad. But what did you feel about that manifestation of Franklin Richards' powers?
In that moment, again, after I got through the drawingness of the baby CGI through some of these moments, I felt like if you weren't paying close enough attention to see his eyes and just the slight hints of blue from his fingers as he's there, you might not have picked up on just how powerful this baby is going to be and just how integral this baby is going to be. I get, the mother's love thing and the bond with the baby, and it worked for that. Like I said, anyone who knows anything about the future going forward, they knew Vanessa Kirby was returning, so it's all good there. But it was a moment, but I don't feel like it hit as much as it should.
Yeah. But everyone, they save the world. Everyone comes out of Subterranea. Galactus is gone. So, we end the movie with they're back on the Gilbert show. And, Tom, I like it how Gilbert wants the baby to wear the 5. And they're like, no, not yet at that point. And, Sue and Reed look at the family they've created, and, they're very happy, and they're standing on the stage, because they didn't get this moment at the beginning. They're going to try to do it again. And they get called out for another mission, and they have this whole kind of weird sequence. And this is where it's like, okay, I get it's cutesy, trying to get the car seat in and everything like that, but it's like
It lasted
it
too long.
it lasted way too long. It was just like I got the point. It was just like, okay, let's move on. I get it. Haha. Like they can't. All three men can't put in a car seat, and the woman's just standing there judging them because I guarantee you, Sue Storm could get it in an instant. But they're able to do it, and they're off in the Fantastic Car, and movie ends. So we know there were going to be two credit scenes. So Marvel put in the best one. We're in the middle. So the scene opens 4 years later. We're back in the Baxter building. Sue is reading to Franklin. And Franklin's grown up a little bit. He's 4 years old. And she leaves to grab another book. And I like how Herbie's hinting at, no, she's read Origin of Species. Let's go with the fun one. And she senses something. Something's happened. And she kind of pauses. And her guard comes very quickly up. And her powers start kind of manifesting. And as she comes around the corner, Franklin is with someone. And it is someone with a green hooded cloak, holding an iron mask. He is speaking to Franklin, but we don't hear anything what it is. Doctor Doom was in this movie.
Yeah. And you see Franklin reach up. Like you can't tell if he fully just touches his face, but he does have the reach up. Like there is the interaction with that. And yes, we are moving on to Avengers Doomsday.
Yep, and we did see in the UN when Sue Storm spoke at some point in the movie, Latveria was there, but no one was sitting there. So they did hint of the idea of Latveria being there and not necessarily want to be a play nice rules. So we don't know necessarily for sure if this is Doom. It's this Earth 828. This is their version of Doom, or we've got a Doom coming in and doing reality. But it doesn't surprise me that he wants Franklin Richards because of the power that he possesses and can use with this power set, reality altering. I'm going to call right now, if you read Secret Wars, this is not Molecule Man that's going to create Battle World. It's going to be Franklin Richards that he is going to use to create Battle World.
Yeah.
It's just it's like I said. You look at the power sets of Richards. It's very Molecule Man has the same kind of similar some of the powers at that point. But you want the most godlike being at that point to recreate a world at the end of it, at the end of Doomsday, to create Secret Wars and Battle World. Yeah, Franklin Richards is his key.
Yeah, and Franklin and Valeria play a part in Secret Wars. So right now you're just kind of moving some chess pieces. You still get Doom, but now, yeah, you get another way to create this battle world, and Doom gets his kingdom and everything else by using Franklin. So yeah. I agree with you that it's where we're going.
And people's like, well, how does this connect to the the Thunderbolts end sequence? I was like, I think Doom kidnaps Franklin and brings him to our Earth 616 MCU proper timeline. And that's how the Fantastic Four are ending up in this reality, is they're coming after Doom because he's kidnapped Franklin.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because at first I was like, okay, well, these end credits don't match up. And then I thought, okay, so he takes Franklin, they don't know where he is, and then Fantastic Four start hopping universes until they end in 616, where they're like gathering people up to help them find their child.
Yep. So, and then the post-credit scene was basically the cartoon opening of the Fantastic Four from Earth 828. So a little tongue-in-cheek, kind of, again, the funny one at the end. So, yeah. But all right. So, David, if you had to rate this movie out of 10, what would you put it at?
Right now, this is sitting at an 8. Again, could be recency, but it is sitting at an 8. It did have some pacing issues. I felt like it could have been longer. with some aspects, and I do feel like one or two scenes could have been cut or shortened. Like we mentioned, the whole jimming around with the car seat. I get it; it's funny. It
It
just
ends up
took
being
too
like
long.
10, 20 seconds at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you at an 8. Um, I think this movie really, there weren't, once we got through kind of the first act at that point, they didn't let go. Like the
Yeah.
first act was a lot of setup and things like that. I wouldn't call it boring at that point. It was just setting up the world that we were in.
A
But
lot of exposition.
yeah,
Not boring, just a lot of exposition.
and so, but once Silver Surfer arrives, we're off to the races, and it doesn't let go, which I appreciate, which is good. But yeah, I'm at an 8 too. As I usually am. I only get to see it once before it hits streaming, so that'll be my only time to see it at that point. I know you've probably seen it twice, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to get even. I'm going to try for one more
Okay,
before streaming, just because I do know that my kids want to see it, and now that I have had time to fully digest it, this is something that I think that I can see with them and not have to worry about anything.
gotcha. I
So
would agree. Yeah,
yeah,
it's truly a movie that you can bring your family to and be completely fine. Yeah, but I'm at an 8. I don't think even seeing a second watch is going to change that for me. And an 8's not bad. I think I applaud them for creating a movie that you don't need any backstory of anything. You don't need it. They did a great job creating the world. I love the character development. I think that is what brings this movie really close together. What it is now as a whole. Where do you have it ranked in kind of your MCU film and project timeline? Where do you have this ranked?
let's let me pull this up real quick. I think last time I checked, I had it around number 13,
Okay,
and yep, I have it after Winter Soldier and before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
gotcha. So for me, and I made some movements today of a couple of things. I know a lot of people said it's their top 10. Again, it's completely subjective. If you're in a top 10, it's great. It's definitely not dissuading it. It did not crack my top 10. I made some rearranging, and it actually is in my top 20. It is number 18 for me. Deadpool and Wolverine is right ahead of it, along with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It is right ahead of Thunderbolts. And I made some massive movements. Civil War was actually way ahead of these, but I was kind of looking at the projects and I said, you know what, I'm going to move some stuff. I also moved Captain America, the first one, down a little bit. And so, yeah, it's sitting at 18 for me. So right at the kind of the top of the mid class of the MCU. Again, good movie. I enjoyed it. I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a rewatch when Aaron wants to see it when it drops on Disney Plus. So as always, I'll be picking this up in physical copies too. So,
I'm
but
excited to see what type of steelbook that they come out with for
it
this.
is, yeah. This is definitely not a steelbook purchase. I purchased steelbooks in the sense of the movies I really, really,
Yeah.
really like. You know,
I just know sometimes they can get very creative with their designs, and I
yes.
want to see the designs for this. Not saying I'm going to purchase, but I just want to see what design they come up with for this.
I know it's like the popcorn buckets, you know.
Yes.
But all right, well, so let us bring volume 267 to a close. As always, we want to thank our sponsor, Organic Price Books, for all your Omnibus Collected Edition needs. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order, or use that code MGUASIT for 5% off 4 or more books together. David, tell people how they can follow you.
You can follow me on all socials at The Phantom. You can follow me on the Geekverse Network. I'm part of the show The Gimmick with S Bubs and Mr. Travis Snell talking wrestling. So we've got SummerSlam coming up in a week from tomorrow, and then we're going to have some shows after that. We just had last weekend a playthrough of our WWE 2K25 My GM mode, and then like we said earlier, tomorrow I will be stopping through the anniversary of Geekverse and GUA for the crossover, and I'm excited about that.
Yep, looking forward to joining you all in that. But yes, you can catch me on all the socials at Chris Balga. You can also catch me every Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Brave and the Boys YouTube channel for the Agrenic Price Books Weekly Buyer's Guide. This week, actually, my co-host Jake and Jordan are actually representing the company, OPB, at San Diego Comic Con. So they will not be joining me this week. I will be joined by my friend Bunkmaster B for the breakdown of the weekly guide. So check that out at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Brave and the Boys YouTube channel. And as always, you can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance on Twitter at GWAPod Network. And you email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions. Let us know what you thought of Fantastic Four. Continue to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed, GWA Network feed on whatever platform you're listening to. Rate and review us on all those platforms. We want to thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Stay safe, and those of you listening, stay safe out there, everyone. As Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, post-credits discussion. David, what we got?
All right, post-credits discussion. We're going to talk about the future of the Fantastic Four and Avengers Doomsday, Secret Wars, and beyond. Where do we think we are headed from here with Marvel's first family?
Yeah, so where do, again, we kind of gave a little bit of hints of where we're thinking Doomsday. Like, where are you thinking they're, they come from where they're the only ones? Are they going to be more powerful than some of our heroes? Are they going to be the ones uniting? Are they going to cause divisions? Like, what do you think this is going to be?
I think that we are going to get a situation, like I said, where they start universe hopping in order to bring together people to find their son and find Doom. That's how we are going to arrive at this version of Secret Wars. And I have a feeling this is going to be a situation where we get the overly intellectual Reed who is pissing people off and making enemies left and right, and we get some great shine by Vanessa Kirby having to be the peacemaker to bring everyone together. She's the one who's out here undoing the damage that Reed is doing, because he's going to feel some type of way about everything that happened, blame it on himself because he didn't protect his family, and just going above and beyond way too much.
Remember, #family. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. And I could also see, kind of like you're saying, like Reed is going to make a very critical error because he's going to think he knows it all. And if this Doom is, as Kevin Feige or the Russo, I can't remember if Kevin Feige or Russos have said that the death of Tony Stark is a direct impact on who Victor Von Doom is in who he is as a character. So that's going to be very interesting to see play out. Beyond Doomsday and Secret Wars, I think they're going to be critical in the sense of what, when we're all saying, like, I think they're going to be critical in the sense of, and I'm sticking to this, I've said it ever since Kang Dynasty, I'm going to stick to it, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose huge. And I think it's going to come down to Reed humbling himself I think he's going to be directly responsible for the loss. And I think it's his version of humbling himself to understand that of how they're going to get out of this and win in the end for in Secret Wars.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Secret Wars is going to be a direct fallout of something that is Reed's fault. Something's going to happen in Doomsday, and it is going to be, no question about it, his fault, and that is going to be what leads us to Secret Wars.
Yeah. Now, beyond it, when we get eventually Fantastic Four 2, it's going to be interesting just because, we've had Galactus. Fantastic Four doesn't have a vast known rogues gallery. Doom is usually first on your list. So we're already doing that. And we've got Galactus now. We've kind of hinted around other things. So it's going to be very interesting. I could see them pulling Annihilus and going that route, pull that from the Hickman run, and kind of do something along that nature. Keep the Fantastic Four kind of on a cosmic idea. I'm a little apprehensive of if this Earth goes away and we're seeing the Fantastic Four come to our proper M616. I'm a little apprehensive about that idea just because I want to see more of this world. I want to see more of them living in this type of Earth because we've only scratched the surface, and I just love the aesthetics that they put in place here.
Yeah. I would love to see something where it is their quest to get back to their world.
Yeah,
Yes, we think it's destroyed, but no, they are displaced in time and everything else. This isn't the world they're used to. And this is their quest to get back home, and that takes them on their own cosmic adventure in order to get back to the world where they feel like they fit in the most.
yeah. So, but all right. Well, we will see exactly what happens next, and but we look forward to it. Next week, we're going to break down everything from SDCC. Yes, that big Kevin Feige interviews are done. We're going to break that all down. So I know you want to kind of hear our opinions on that. So we're going to push that off till everything from SDC is done. And again, we got some big stuff that Eyes of Wakanda has moved up to August 1st. At that point, those episodes are dropping. So we got some couple of weeks of great content coming for you. So we will see you all next week. Same Marvel Alliance time, back to Thursday night, 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. So we'll see you then. You all have a great weekend, and I hope it is fantastic. See y'all
Have
later.
a good one.